a prayer that'll be given to us by Reverend Jake Hall from Highland Hills Baptist Church. We'll be led in the Pledge of Allegiance by a couple of students that the clerk has gotten to come to be with us then. We'll have approval of the minutes next, the pre-commission meeting of the 19th of June and the regular commission meeting of the 19th of June. Those two sets of minutes have been prepared and distributed. Hope you've had a chance to review them. We'll recognize any invited guests, but I'm not aware of there being any invited guests for tonight other than to welcome anybody and everybody that's going to be here for the 6 o'clock meeting. Then we'll have public comments on agenda items. That may be a fairly long, but we're going to see if we can't ask people to kind of get selective and try to limit the number of speakers rather than having everybody say everything over again, to try to be respectful of everybody's time and make points that need to be made. But I think all of us are quite well aware of the issues that are before us. But we'll have public comments on agenda items. Non-agenda items will be deferred till later in the program. Then we'll have reports from our standing committees next, and I understand that Vice Chairman Jones is going to make the report for Operations and Finance. I believe that'll be prepared and given to you because you were chairing that meeting last week. So you'll have that when we get to that point. Economic and Community Development, Chairman Lucas, will you make that report for us? Public Safety, no report is my understanding. Is that right? Okay. And then Facilities and Engineering, Vice Chairman Shepard will make that a report for us. There are several new items on the consent agenda for alcoholic beverage licenses, but I think you'll find that all of them, which we'll discuss momentarily, are going to be fairly routine and won't cause any consternation. At least I hope that will be the case, and we'll go over those momentarily in detail. Then we'll get to old business. We've decided to put the budget first under old business, and we have a budget that was adopted at the special call meeting of June the 28th. So these will be to discuss proposed amendments to the budget, and that'll be the first item on the agenda that I expect there'll be a lot of interest in by members of the community as well. The next item is item B, which would be Operations and Finance Committee 2019 recommended amendment to add funding for the Transit Authority. The Operations and Finance Committee will give this report, but they met last Friday, and this will be something that they passed out of Operations and Finance that we have added to this agenda. So that'll be your first amendment then to the proposed budget. I'm sorry. The first one would be to add back in operations, recreation, parks and beautification, and Bowden Golf Course. That'll be the first amendment to the budget. Second amendment to the budget, item B, is to add back funding for the Transit Authority. Third item C, is again an amendment coming out of Operations and Finance to add funding for the Middle Georgia Regional Library. Item D then will be an ordinance to adopt an amendment to the budget to fund the Health Department and Rivers Edge. Item E, the last of the amendments to come out of Operations and Finance from their meeting last Friday, was an amendment to add funding for Navicent Health back into the budget. Then we go to item F, which is an ordinance to appropriate some additional money, $255,578 from the 2017 fund balance for the Macon Transit Authority. That is pending approval of the Committee of the Whole, so we'll talk about that as new business momentarily. Item G is a committee amendment, the ordinance to amend the financial policies of the Macon-Bibb County Consolidated Government. The Committee of the Whole heard that and recommends approval. That's the first item that comes with Committee of the Whole approval, but I think a delayed effective date, something like July the 16th, to give us a little bit of time to make some adjustments and tweaks to the org chart and try to figure out how we're going to do that. Item H is a resolution to appoint Pearlie Tolliver to the Macon Housing Authority Board. Item I is a resolution to approve the 14th Amendment to the SPLOST project timeline and the allocation of SPLOST funds for budgeted. And that was heard by Operations and Finance earlier, and they recommend approval. Item J is the first appropriation of SPLOST funds for out of the 2017 bond proceeds and 2018 SPLOST revenues for an appropriation of $450,000 of those bond proceeds. Operations and Finance heard that and recommends approval. Item K is another ordinance appropriating some additional funds for Parks and Recreation out of the SPLOST funds for Central City Park. Operations and Finance heard that and recommends approval. Item L is an ordinance approving and authorizing the appropriation of approximately $5.6 million from the 2017 SPLOST proceeds to pay off previously existing debt. Operations and Finance heard that and recommends approval. Item N is an ordinance approving and authorizing the appropriation of $2,307,000 and $408 from the 2017 SPLOST, 2018 SPLOST revenue, Parks and Recreation for Freedom Park and Phase 2 of the improvements there. Item N is an ordinance approving and authorizing appropriation of $1,922,840 from the SPLOST funds for stormwater and various projects to the Macon Water Authority that have been approved and executed. Item O, resolution to authorize the mayor to execute a purchase and sale agreement with Williams Communications in the amount of $76,407.03 for the purchase of a fire station tower for use by the Macon-Bibb County Fire Department to be paid out of 2018 SPLOST fund. Operations and Finance Committee heard that and recommends approval. Item P is a resolution authorizing Macon-Bibb County to enter an intergovernmental agreement with the Macon-Bibb County Board of Health relating to funding of a health department SPLOST project. Operations and Finance Committee heard that and recommends approval. Item Q is the same thing for River Edge with the mental health and an intergovernmental agreement there. Operations and Finance approves that. Item R is an ordinance to amend the code relating to registration of vacant and foreclosed property. The Facilities and Engineering Committee heard that and recommends increasing that amount, the registration fee, to $100. There are 2 or 3 items of new business that I'll read when we get that far and refer to committees for various additional study and consideration. So let me turn now to the new business and go first through the consent agenda. We have an alcohol beverage license by Macon Secured LLC doing business as RJ's Food Mart, accompanied by the Sheriff's Certificate of a Satisfactory Investigation. All of these, Certificate of Satisfactory Background Check by the Sheriff's Office. This is for beer package sales to go at a new business, 2311 Pinona Avenue in Macon. Macon Secured LLC doing business as RJ's Food Mart. Item B also accompanied, this is Zoe's Kitchen at 5080 Riverside Drive, Suite 324. It is for beer and wine sales to be consumed on the premises at 5080 Riverside Drive. Item 4C is Cy Ram Gas Mart doing business as Exxon at 1105 Gray Highway for beer and wine package sales to go at that location. Item D under the consent agenda is Sunoco Food Mart at 3910 Arkwright Road for beer and wine package sales to go at that location.
No, you need 6.
Item E again is a Food Mart at 4224 Bloomfield Road, beer and wine package sales to go at that location. Item F under the consent agenda is New China Grill and Buffet, 5056 Eisenhower Parkway, Macon, for beer to be consumed on the premises at that new business location. All of these applications are accompanied by, as I said before, the sheriff's background check, the business development license of the applicable fees being paid, the planning and zoning certificate of compliance, and the engineer's certification that it meets all of the distance requirements. Does anybody have a question or comment about any of those applications for alcohol license? If not, can I get a motion to approve? Got a motion and a second to approve. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the issuance of these licenses signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it, and they'll be on the final agenda for tonight for final action. The next item, I guess, would be the budget amendments, because they've come out of the committee, but probably ought to be discussed, because I'm not sure everybody was here on Friday afternoon, and probably people would want to hear Virgil. So let me turn this over to you to talk about items on the main agenda, starting with. Hold on, let me find it. This will be under old business 9A.
Still having internet problems. Do you have a hard copy for me? But the first item that we discussed was the restoration of funding to the Parks and Recreation Department and the Parks and Beautification Department. And this was a total change of this is amending the budget to include a new line items to restore funding to the Recreation Department in the amount of $4.5 million, the Parks and Beautification Department in the amount of $2.7 million, Bowden Golf Course in the amount of $300,000. This was a total of $7.5 million, or a millage rate increase of 1.83. Was the first item that our committee discussed. And this was to fully restore funding to Recreation, Parks and Beautification, and Bowden Golf Course.
Double check those figures: 4.5, 2.7, and 300,000. That's going to be, I think, 7, 5, 12, 15, 7.5 rather than 7.8.
0.5, yes, sir.
7.
1.83 mils.
Huh?
7.5 million, equivalent to 1.83 mils, or millage rate increase of 1.
I have the revised document here with the change in the date of adoption of the interim budget. I'm happy. Would you like for me to pass out now, or as y'all consider them?
To cut down on confusion, let's pass it now. We on the same page with the dollar amount in the millage rate?
I have. I'll read it. I have 1.83 mils. I have $4,561,000 for recreation. I have $2,733,000 for parks and beautification, and I have $300,000 for Bowden Golf Course, for a total funding in the amount of $7,594,000. I'm gonna let the clerk see that. Now the back remains the same, so you already have that. We just changed the date.
Again, that was the first proposal of, we're at a total of the first of 9. And this one would increase it by 183. It will restore all of our internal departments. Are there any questions, or I'm not sure what format you want at this point?
One question and request from me, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate your hard work, and I appreciate you coming up with a plan. However, what I would like to do is to introduce a floor amendment. And the floor amendment, Judd, can you hand some of those out that way, and I'll hand them out this way? Joe, would you take these and pass them down that way?
I guess the mayor's making it.
See how many we get. What my floor amendment does is really add the highlighted language in section 1, if everybody's got it. And basically speaking, it says that any amendments to the interim budget as approved by the commission on Thursday, June the 28th, shall cease to be effective on August the 31st, 2018, if the commission fails to adopt the necessary millage rate increases for funding said amendments on or before August the 31st, 2018. In other words, that's saying that if you approve an amendment that contemplates additional millage, that the amendments would cease to be effective if we don't pass a millage rate to support it. I mean, that just makes, I'm trying to make good common sense to it, because what I don't want to get into as the mayor is having a budget with a size 12 foot, and yet I've only got a size 10 shoe to try to fit it into and don't have enough. Then I would be faced with the administrative task alone of trying to do that without the adequate millage increase to support it. So that's what the floor amendment would be when we get to it at that point.
And I would just like to respond.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Go right ahead.
The committee and myself are trying to be as transparent as we can
Correct.
by including, letting you know that this $7.8 million, if you would like, for us to have a Parks and Beautification and Recreation Department.
Correct.
It's gonna cost 1.83 mils.
1.83 mils of a new tax, additional tax. Yes, sir.
So that is the funding mechanism.
I'm with you, and I appreciate your effort to be transparent. What I don't want us to do is to say, yeah, and then get down to setting the millage rate in the middle of August and not set it to include that 1.83.
Correct. So
I'm trying to keep us out of trouble.
that I guess I paused because it seems as though it may give someone an out to vote here today, to vote yes to restore the library, and then in August we don't get 6 votes for the millage rate, and then the library is right back closed.
That's one way to look at it. The other way to look at it is to say that this would be the additional incentive to let them vote on restoring this in mid-August when we set the millage rate. That would be the counterpoint to it.
Yes, sir.
Okay? So go ahead, sir. You had the floor, and I just interrupted you just to discuss that floor amendment, so wouldn't be caught by surprise. Do you want to continue on or go to item B? Item B is yours as well.
Just get familiar with this book.
You want it on or off?
Item B, yes, is restoring funding, providing funding for the Middle Georgia Regional Library for amount of $2.8 million, and this is a millage rate increase of 0.68 mils.
It's a millage rate increase of what? 0.68?
Yes, sir.
I have this one too. That's what I show.
You want me to keep going or pause for questions or discussion, or
No,
just keep running?
If you would give the clerk a second just to pass them out so everybody has it in front of them.
All right, my apologies. For 2.3 million, item B is for the Macon Transit Authority. Item B that was just handed out is the Macon Transit, an increase to provide funding for the Macon Transit Authority for an amount of $2.316 million, $2,316,000,
Okay.
or a corresponding millage rate of 0.57.
I think we just handed them out backwards. We handed out the one for the library first. There's no, this is the one for the transit authority.
And again,
Yeah, but it will be. This is just, you know. But we're still in pre-commission. We still
I'll
in
keep,
pre-commission.
as it's been handed out, I'll keep going through the list.
Yeah, please do.
So again, the Middle Georgia Regional Library for an amount of 2.8 million. This is a millage increase of 0.68 mils. The next item was a millage rate increase for two departments following health agencies. The Macon-Bibb County Health Department in the amount of $680,000 and River Edge Behavioral Health in the amount of $403,000.
C was the,
Library, so this is D.
yeah.
The health department was $680,000. River Edge Behavioral Health was $403,000. This is a total funding of $1,083,000. $1,083,000. This corresponds to a millage rate increase of 0.26 mils. 0.26 mils. Also was a amendment to provide funding for Navicent Health Indigent Care in the amount of $451,500, corresponding to a millage rate increase of 0.11 mils, 0.11 mils. Navicent Health Indigent Care, $451,500 for a corresponding millage rate increase of 0.11 mils.
Okay, those will be the first items on the agenda tonight.
As a matter of process, the items that were discussed this afternoon,
I think
I'll-
we should make a motion to add those to tonight's agenda.
I would do so at this time.
I think we should go through each one of them individually, though, as we do it.
Yes,
Right.
sir. So the first item that I would like to add to the agenda today,
Let me make a housekeeping while you get.
Yes, sir.
Make a housekeeping. Ladies and gentlemen, we obviously are expecting the crowd to continue to grow here. We have made arrangements tonight for overflow downstairs in the courtroom, municipal courtroom. I'm looking for somebody up there on the deck that's telling me, yes, that's right, and we've got a monitor set up down there and audio set up down there that's been double checked and it works. The fire marshal tells me that we must keep the aisles clear. People can't congregate over on the stairways or in the aisleways. So if you don't find a place to sit and don't find a place along the wall there, which I think is appropriate, you can't block the aisleways and can't stand on the stairs. So there is additional room downstairs in the municipal court where you can go watch it on a monitor and hear exactly what's going on and see what's going on. We're trying to accommodate the crowd. Any other questions about that? And then the final thing to say is that we always try to accommodate protocol and demeanor. So we ask you to refrain from heckling. You understand that applause sometimes just erupts spontaneously, but we do not like to have extraneous comments just shouted out by people. It distracts and prevents us from having an orderly and understandable meeting. So we would appreciate your cooperation in that regard. Chairman Watkins, back to you now, and we're beginning to run close on time to start the 6 o'clock meeting. We're still in pre-commission for those that are coming in and trying to figure out what we're doing. Still in pre-commission meeting where we're discussing the agenda and items to be presented tonight. So Chairman Watkins, go ahead, sir.
I'll yield to Commissioner Tillman, seems as though he has a question. All right, Amendment 6 is amendment to restore funding to the Planning and Zoning Department in the amount of $800,000. And this is a corresponding millage rate increase of approximately 0.2 mils. Zoning in the amount of 800,000 for approximately a millage rate increase of 0.2.
Commissioner, I'm sorry, will you say that one more time, please? I've got,
Again, so Amendment 6,
I'm calling it F because
F,
y'all are.
that's
all right.
right. Amendment F, or item F on our agenda today, is a increase to the funding of the Planning and Zoning Division in the amount of 800,000. Corresponds to a millage rate increase of approximately 0.2 mils.
I'm saying .196, is that?
That's how, yeah, I'm rounding. Great, go.
The idea now would be a motion to add this to tonight's agenda. It's not on the agenda, but it's a related item, and there's a motion to add this to tonight's agenda as item F. Is there a second to that motion to add this to the agenda? Is there a second? Who is the second? Got, Mayor Pro Tem Tillman is my second. Is there further discussion about adding this item to the agenda tonight as item F? Hearing none, I assume you're ready to vote. All in favor of adding this to the agenda as item F, signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. So we've got a new item F on the agenda, which is the P and Z amendment to the budget. All right? Chairman Watkins, back to you, sir.
Sir, next item is, we're calling this G. It's item G, and it addresses 3 economic development agencies. The first is the Urban Development Authority. Amount of $90,000 via a corresponding millage rate increase of approximately 0.025. $90,000, approximately 0.025.
I say, I was showing .022.
Perfect.
All right.
Next was the Industrial Authority in an amount of $460,000 via a corresponding millage rate increase of approximately 0.1 mil. What do you got?
.112.
Perfect. So that's 460,000 for exactly 0.112. Next was the Land Bank Authority in the amount of 192,000 with a corresponding millage rate increase of approximately 0.05.
I say .047.
And separate from this was, I'm sorry, so that's item
G.
G.
All right, you got a motion by Chairman Watkins to add as item G on tonight's agenda the funding for the Urban Development Authority, the Industrial Authority, and the Land Bank Authority. Is there a second by Mayor Pro Tem Tillman? Is there further discussion about adding this item to the agenda tonight as item G? Hearing none, I assume you're ready to vote. All in favor of adding this item as item G to the agenda for tonight, signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. That'll be item G. Chairman Watkins, you're on a roll, sir. Go ahead.
Item H at this time would be adding funding for the Middle Georgia Community Enhancement Authority for an amount of $96,000. And I lost my notes. And this is approximately 0.02 mils.
I say 0.23.
0.023.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And that's item H, the Community Enhancement Authority. Okay. Got a motion, Mayor Pro Tem, second that as well? No?
Uh-oh.
Second by Commissioner Lucas then. So all in favor of adding as item H, the funding for the Community Enhancement Authority, signify by adding it to the agenda. Signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it, and that'll be item H on the agenda tonight. Next, Chairman Watkins.
Moving to item I, which is appropriating funding for DFACS, Department of Family and Children's Services. How did you have that? DFACS first or the?
We have Bibb County Division of Family and Children's Services.
Right, great. An amount of $800,000, which corresponds to a millage rate increase of approximately 0.2.
I have .196.
For this item.
That's a single standalone item, item I. So the Chairman's proposing or making a motion to add that as item I, funding for the Department of Family and Children's Services. Is there a second to that motion? Got a second by Commissioner Lucas. So we've got the motion and second. Is there further discussion about adding this to tonight's agenda as item I? Hearing none, all in favor of adding this to the agenda for tonight signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. That'll be item I on the agenda for tonight. Chairman Watkins, back to you, sir.
Next item on the agenda is item J, and it has 3 corresponding agencies. Citizens Advocacy in the amount of $4,500, and this is a millage rate increase of less than .001. Would you come? Third decimal place.
I got .001.
Meals on Wheels in the amount of $35,000 with a corresponding millage rate of .01.
I've got .009.
And the food bank in the amount of $15,400 in the amount of less than .01.
I have .004.
Thank you, sir. Those are the 3 agencies for item K.
I'm sorry, the
J.
J, I'm sorry.
yeah,
Yes,
that's
me.
J, and it had the Citizens Advocacy at $4,500, Meals on Wheel at $35,000, and the food bank at $15,400. Is that right?
Perfect. So now
There was a motion to add that as item J, second by Mayor Pro Tem Tillman. Is there further discussion about whether or not to add that as item J tonight? Hearing none, all in favor of adding this as item J to tonight's agenda signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. That's item J. Next,
next
Chairman Watkins.
is the final amendment. It includes 6 cultural arts agencies. The Douglas Theater in the amount of $100,000.
I don't have that one.
This is a corresponding millage rate increase of approximately .025 mils.
Commissioner, before you start,
Yes, sir.
we missed that last one, so I need to get Michael McNeil, the Assistant County Attorney, to come here and see if we can't write it down. I'm not sure why we missed that last one.
Which,
No, it'd be item K.
Yeah,
Does anybody have
would
a
be
copy of the draft of it? He can prepare it, though. No problem. He'll go prepare it right now.
I'm sure I got a copy down here.
I think this is it. Douglas. And I don't think they made any change to any of those. The Douglas Theater was at 100, Museum of Arts and Sciences 230, Tubman 230, Macon Arts Alliance 40, Sports Hall of Fame 100, and keep Macon-Bibb beautiful at 110.
Will you go prepare that one? Yep. All right, we'll get that prepared as item K if we get a motion to add to the agenda.
Again, we'll get a millage rate for you, but the question now is whether or not to add it to tonight's agenda for discussion. And got a motion by Chairman Watkins. Was there a second? Got a second by Mayor Pro Tem Tillman. Further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor of adding this to the agenda tonight, signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it, so we've added that as item K. So obviously now, other items that were already on the agenda will be renumbered accordingly. What used to be item F would be item L, and that is an ordinance to appropriate $255,578. This is new business. This is pending approval of the Committee of the Whole, sponsored by Commissioner Jones. Commissioner Jones, can I get you to discuss your
Yes, sir.
ordinance?
Yes, sir. We got a letter from Brad Wilson, attorney for the Macon Transit Authority, and we have a binary agreement with them. So this would, from a 2016 audit, it was determined the county owes the authority $255,578. This would allow the authority to continue to run through the end of July. So it's time is of the essence. I think we need to do it.
And the only thing that I would add to that is we have prepared, at my request, an amendment so that what this would do is to ratify action that has already been taken. In light of the situation and the demand letter and the finance department saying that they recognized it as an obligation due from a previous year's budget, and having the money, I don't want to say approved, but having the money set aside or earmarked to make that payment on the record, and in conversations with the transit authority saying that they could keep transit running on Monday and Tuesday, especially paratransit, if they had the promise that that money was coming. We went ahead and issued that check. So what we're asking for is ratification of action taken in an emergency situation by the administration. So that'll be the amendment that'll be there, and I trust that'll be a friendly amendment to ratify it rather than fail. Yes. Is there further discussion about the $255,000 from 2017 fund balance to the Macon Transit Authority? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve? Commissioner,
Approved.
by Commissioner Jones. Is there a second? Got a second by Commissioner Wynn. All in favor? Is there further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Got some discussion.
Oh, Commissioner Lucas, your light is on.
Is it also, in conjunction with this, is it also your plan to look at the agreement that we have? I understood that there was some corrections that are supposed to be made, some modifications to that agreement, and so that we don't end up in that situation year after year where the administration of the Transit Authority comes to us and says that they need additional money in order to maintain their line of credit at the bank. We've talked about it each time that the requests have been made, but I still am wondering when we're going to look at the agreement and make the correction.
Your point is excellent, and I'll commit to certainly trying to work with you on that agreement, this bi-party agreement between the Transit Authority and Macon-Bibb County as to how to provide the funding. But it was the very fact that we said, and the point of discussion, as you'll remember, is whether or not to require that they maintain 45 days or 30 days of funding. That was the whole question. Because if they had to maintain 45 days of funding, then their request of us would be even more money back to them. So it's left pocket, right pocket, taking it out of our pocket and putting it in their pocket. And whether or not to reduce that to 30 days, we never reached an agreement. We never brought it before the commission for a vote, which is why we felt like, and legal felt like, we were obligated to fund the difference for 45 days, which is why we went ahead and paid it. So yes, my answer to you is yes, we'll certainly try to involve the commission and see whether or not we want to amend the budget, amend the arrangement with the Transit Authority going forward. Yep. Any further discussion? Hearing none, this is voting the Committee of the Whole to approve that. Also, all in favor of making that payment, ratifying the action that paid them, the Transit Authority, $255,578 from fiscal year 2017, signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it, and that'll appear as item L on the agenda tonight for final approval. Item K is a committee amendment to the ordinance to amend the financial policies for Macon-Bibb County. The the Committee of the Whole heard this and recommended that we adopt them, but changed the effective date to July the 16th to give us a little bit of time to work the org chart details out and to tweak any policies that were inconsistent. So that's the change, as I understand it, just to change the effective date of it. Is that right?
It makes it effective July 16th to allow if there's any amendments that anybody wants to present.
Okay. So the Committee of the Whole has already approved that with the revision of the effective date. Item H, we've already been through, with the exception of, that'll be item M, the resolution to make an appointment to the Housing Authority. Item N, we've already talked about a resolution to change the timeline and go through and renumber accordingly and down to the bottom. Is there any?
Commissioner Jones has something, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, Commissioner Jones.
Is this the appropriate time to talk about the budget policy change? Or later? Where is the financial director and the monthly reviews? Is that what you just touched on?
But all that's in the financial policies. Is that what you're talking about?
Right.
No, you could talk about that
Later. Okay.
later, right, when we get to that
Gotcha.
item on the agenda, if there's
Gotcha.
anything additional that you wanted to amend or revise about
Just
it.
wanted to inform the public through you as to what we were doing at the appropriate time.
Yeah, I think when it comes up for discussion on during the main meeting would be that point. Is there any other new business that you're aware of?
Pre-commission, I keep thinking we're in commission.
Okay.
This is Kate.
So that we have been through now the old business, and as I said, I'll read the new business when we get to that point. So we're at the end of the pre-commission meeting. Is there anything further to come before us in pre-commission? Hearing none, can I get a motion to adjourn? Motion to adjourn pre-commission without objection. Pre-commission is adjourned. Now, I need to take about a 2-minute comfort break. I don't know